And one other quick thing I want to say, when you feel like you may be the placeholder or whatnot, maybe you are. But the reason you could be is because of what you are portraying that you are willing to settle for. If you don't have any, if you don't have that, what is it the word I'm looking for? If you don't have, I guess, that like wit about you, about, I'm not settling for just anything, I want to get to know you. I'm not trying to rush this. I actually want to get to know you too, and you're conscious of that, instead of just kind of like being an almost anything kind of goes type of girl, or you're just kind of too accepting to some things, or you're not really setting any boundaries, you're not really assertive about what you want, you're just kind of like, liking the flirting he's doing with you, because they'll do that, and you're just kind of like liking all of that and sucking all that up. It's gonna give placeholder energy, because it's like, oh, she just here, and she don't care what I can do or not do. She's willing to just kind of like, whatever I give her, she's gonna take it. So let me kind of just fool around with her until I decide to commit to this other person I got. So it's giving placeholder energy when you don't have your boundaries about you, or you don't have that I'm not putting up with shit attitude about you. You more so have the attitude of, I just really want a relationship. That gives placeholder energy.
Excuse me, can I please talk to you for a minute?
Hey girlfriends, welcome back to the Hey Girlfriend podcast. I'm your host, mindset and intuitive coach, Kindall D. And today we are going to be talking about when he doesn't commit to you but commits to the next woman. Meaning, he tells you, oh, I'm not looking for a relationship, I don't want anything serious. The with you is silent in that. Or is it? I should say. Because, well, let's get into it first. I'm about to get into it early. Like, y'all know how my thoughts be and how it just comes to me, and I be trying to say it, blurt it out. I'm trying to do a little tactful, not to confuse you and not to dump all this information on you at once. But yeah, I'll recircle back to that. So I wanted to bring this up because it was requested. Every now and then I'll put like I ask for like topic ideas on the I've Been That Girl 2 Instagram's story. So check out my stories periodically. You may see something in there. I also post other reposts, like from other people. I stopped posting other people's stuff on my page, even if I was tagging them, because people were getting in their feelings about it. Not the people that I was reposting. Excuse me, but it just started becoming a mess and confusion, and people like, that's so and so stuff, and I'm like, I didn't know, because I didn't know their tag on this IG page. I just know them from TikTok, so I tagged the TikTok, and people would get, all other people be like, this is so and so, this is this, and I'm like, I'm not trying to steal, I'm just sharing their stuff and trying to tag them the best way I know how. But it became a mess, so I said, forget it, I ain't ever doing it again. So that's why I said check out my stories. I do a lot of reposts there, and I also post about every now and then what you want to hear me talk about. And I answer DMs. So if you DM me something, as long as it's not you trying to get free coaching and trying to ask me my tidbits on stuff, I'll respond. And what I mean by free coaching, I mean is that, yeah, I'll answer one or two questions, and then I'll revert you back to, I do have coaching, because that's where my time goes to, coaching women, coaching you all. So it wouldn't be fair to them if I'm spending my time in my DMs coaching all of y'all for free and they're paying for it, So that's all I'm saying. This is like a little homework. Let's get right into this. So, not homework. Announcements, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, it don't matter. That's not what we're talking about today. So let's get into it. So I brought this topic up because, one, someone requested it. Two, it's happened to me, And I want to talk about how I got through it and how you can, because it can be hard. I don't want anyone to make you feel like that You shouldn't be concerned with that. Oh, you don't love yourself if you're worried about him coming to the next woman. Why are you worried about that and this and that? And, however you may be thinking you should not feel. It's okay to feel sad and heartbroken and disappointed even by this. You know, even if you weren't in a relationship with this person and you were in a situationship with them or whatnot, it's still okay to feel that hurt from him committing to someone else and not you. So, a little backstory about me. It happened to me quite a bit, actually, like a lot. And I wasn't really in a relationship with these guys. None of them. I was, hoping it might lead to that because I kind of liked them. But looking back, I realized they weren't really my type anyway. They weren't really any good. But anyway, like, it's happened to me quite a bit. Like, it was one guy I met. He was nice. We talked on the phone and had a good conversation, hung out a bit. Didn't really go on a date or anything. And, I was liking talking to him. And then suddenly he gonna bust out and say, he just stopped calling as much as he did. And then he gonna turn around and say, I feel like you be forcing me to call you. And I'm like, how am I forcing you? I never asked you or begged you to call me. We were just talking. So he started kind of making up all kind of excuses. And I was like, I see where this is going. He just don't want to talk to me, don't know how to say it. So it kind of just fizzled out, which I didn't really mind because I didn't really catch feelings. I just thought he was attractive. He was kind of cute. I'm like, oh, okay, we talking, we vibing, whatever. But it wasn't nothing serious. Never had sex with him, none of that. And next thing I find out, bam, he back with his ex-girlfriend, the one he was telling me about that used to get a lot of attention because her ass was fat or whatever. That's how he said it. And, he was like, she be flirting with the guys and this and that. But you turn right back around and got back with her. And diss me. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Another guy it happened with, I met him at work and one of my old jobs. And he knew that I had broke up with my toxic ex, John, actually. It's the one. So this is from Toxic Ex Chronicles, John, my book. Talk about that. Do I talk about that in detail there? No, I don't. It comes in the next book that I'm still working on. Sorry, but no, that's neither here or there. So, I was talking with him, liked him. We just talked a few times. It was kind of inconsistent even in the beginning, but I was young and new to it, and I was just like, maybe this is how it goes. I don't know. I like him. He likes me. Back in that day, I was just liking anyone that liked me. And so we talked, dated a little bit. Never had sex, although he tried to, because I did spend the night at his house. And one time he kind of forced me to. He was like, it's too late to be driving home. Wait till the sun come up. Just stay here and sleep with me. And I was like, oh, okay. And I did, but he tried to kind of fill me up, and I was like, no. So that never happened. So kind of found out right after that, bam, he back with his ex. I'm like, so what am I, just like the placeholder or something? I'm just somebody to do just in between time until they get to the one they really want. I was really feeling like that. Like, damn, I'm just here. And they're just like using me. Like, what do I have? Use written all over me? And it was just back to back. And then it happened again. Like, this was more recent. Like, before I met my husband. So about 6-7 years ago. Met this guy, talked every day, all day for a whole entire month. I thought it was really going somewhere. Thought we were really, maybe gonna move into something more. Although in the back of my mind, I kind of knew we weren't. I was hoping for it. I can kind of sense that he didn't want that because we went on one date and that was it. He didn't make time to see me. He wasn't acting like he really wanted to be around me and see me. We just talked. But I was still had a little hope because I was attracted to him. I liked talking to him, so I was hoping that we can get to know each other like on a deeper level. That never happened, and he was just like, I can't give you what you're looking for right now, gave me that whole spiel. And I was disappointed as hell. I wasn't hurt or heartbroken, so to speak, because I didn't get that involved with him. Although I could have. I stopped myself. I had learned to stop myself from getting too involved. Although the hope never really went away with these guys, I learned how to not get so caught up and involved in it, because I'm like, yeah, I like you, but I need a little more. So, yeah, I was just highly disappointed. I did cry about it. And I left work early about it because he told me, text me this while I was at work, because he was going to say, I didn't talk to you when you get off work. No, you're going to tell me now. I'm not going to sit up here at work wondering what the hell you want to be talking about. And so he told me, and I left work early, like, fuck this, went home, cried, got me a bottle, was drinking, and just like, fuck him. And it took me a minute to get down from that. But I did. And I'm going to tell you how. So, well, first let me tell you that he's married now. Yeah. I am too. Yeah, but it's like, it was kind of like a slap in the face. Not a slap in the face. It was kind of like a, so it's really, these men really do want commitment, but just didn't want it with me. And it was something I had to kind of sit with. And it's like, it stings a little bit, and it does hurt, because it's like, damn, so they really didn't want me or want a relationship. They just wanted me for whatever, to run over me, take advantage of me, have sex with me, or whatever they can get out of me, but didn't want to commit. And here I am thinking, oh, they're just a non-committal type. They don't want no relationship with no one. No, they just didn't want it with me. And it's hard to come to terms with it. So what do you do? What do you do when that happens? I tell you what you do. You cry about it. It's okay. It's okay to be disappointed and to feel hurt by that. And then once you've cried all you can cry, you start processing. And you start processing by realizing that, 1, life does go on. 2, you'll soon realize that you're thankful for the rejection, because it just wasn't meant. And 3, I feel like that after you get through all of that, not only will you start to see why it didn't need to happen, you'll start to see that there are a whole lot of other people out there to meet. And number 4, I realized that in all of this, if you didn't realize when I was telling you the stories of all of this, I realized in all of this that I was a little too desperate or too excited to have a relationship. And it's okay to want a relationship. It's okay to want romantic love. It's totally okay. But I feel like that puts us in a position of not only giving our power away, but it puts us in a position to not really choose consciously. And so when I look back on those guys, I'm like, they weren't even really the type I needed or what I was looking for. Like, I think about how they were when we were dating and talking, and I see some of them, like one of them, well, actually 2 of them, I'm still friends with on social media. And it's nothing like that, like, oh, we talk and we flirt. It's nothing like that at all. I just see some of their posts and whatnot. One of them married, and that's fine and all. It was years after. It was years later. It was actually, it happened while I was married. But it just kind of hit me still, like, damn, so he is the committing type. He just wasn't ready when I wanted it. Or maybe he just didn't want me. And so when you position it like that, it hurts. And it's hard to come to terms with it. But you have to understand that that's just one man. That's just one person. Like with me, it was several. But I still consider them all one, under one umbrella. Because it's like, okay, it's just y'all that didn't want me. Okay, it's next. Because I think about, it's been some guys that I didn't want, that wanted a relationship with me, but I didn't want that. You're going to do some rejecting as well if you're dating right. I was dating from a place of like this urgency to be loved and to be wanted. And you have to be really honest with yourself when you're processing this, when you don't get the commitment that you wanted with someone, or you're stuck in a situationship and you're trying to figure out how'd you end up here, how'd you end up disappointed, how you end up so rejected and feeling this way. When you try to figure all of that out, you have to realize that, or understand about yourself, am I really that urgent to be in a relationship that I'm willing to settle, that I'm willing to, be out of my element of wanting a relationship and settle for what they want just to stick around because I like them so much. Or just, you have to ask yourself these tough questions and be real with yourself about it, because you may be shortcoming yourself, and that's what I was doing. These guys that I was into, I really didn't need to be into, because they weren't really even a good type for me. I'm not going to say they were bad or something was wrong with them, or that they weren't just the worst type of men. I put it that way. But they did not fit really what I want. Like, one of them I follow, I still see some of their stuff. So like, he's still on the same type of shit he was when I first talked to him. And I'm just like, he's just not my type. And I can't believe I was so disappointed over that and actually thinking about being in a relationship because I was just that urgent to have someone that I wasn't thinking straight. So that's the first thing you got to do. So what if you are thinking straight? You feel like you're consciously making choices, and you thought everything was good in a relationship, and then it ends up, bam, he doesn't want to commit, but you find out later that he's committed to someone else, and so it was really okay. Maybe he just didn't want to be with you. But like I said in the beginning of the show, or is that so? I feel like it's I feel like sometimes our feelings can change, and so can theirs. And it's nothing that you have to take personal. It's just sometimes people just don't have that feeling, and you can't provoke that feeling in them for you. And so right now I need you to really lose all of the ego, like lose it, drop it, drop the, this may trigger you, but I believe in healthy triggers to help you think about stuff and to process it. So what I'm saying is, he may have said he didn't want a relationship with you, or didn't want, well, I'll correct that. He may have said he didn't want one right now. And maybe he meant it, Maybe he meant right then and there with you, he didn't want one, or didn't feel he could commit to you for whatever reason. He just didn't feel it. And next thing you know, he's in a new relationship. And so you're thinking, oh, he lied to me. He just wanted to be with another girl. But unless you sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk with him, you will never know the honest truth about that. So it's not worth it for you to sit there and try to, rationalize it, to try to figure out if it was honest or not, because you just drive yourself crazy because you're never going to get that answer. So instead of pondering on the answer to that, like if he really lied to you, if he really didn't want a relationship, if he did, he just didn't want it with you and didn't tell you, if he wasn't honest with you, who knows? He could have been honest with you. You don't know the truth to that. So what I suggest to do is to understand that what's for you won't pass you by. Now, I know that's cliche to hear, but you got to understand something here. If that feeling for you wasn't there, or the feeling for having a relationship with you, because having a relationship with someone is a very, very important decision you make. It's not just something you're supposed to choose lightly, And so if they decided that how things were with you right then and there, if they decided right then and there that, I don't think I can commit. And then later on they decide, whether it's a week, 2, 3 later, they decide with that woman, it doesn't mean that that woman has something that you don't have or is better than you. It could just mean that that woman was better for him and what he wanted. And that can mean a number of things. It could mean that maybe there were some things that she was willing to accept in him and you weren't. And I don't mean it to be any toxic shit. We're talking about just regular shit. Like, it could be just something differently that he saw in her that he wanted, but then seeing you. And so all that means is that it's just incompatibility. Something you have to understand, that when it comes to love, it's not something that you have to work hard for and earn, What makes love work is the compatibility and the commitment to want to have more with someone, So someone not choosing you does not mean that you weren't worthy or not good enough. And I almost want to tell you, well, actually, I will tell you, be thankful for the rejection. And you may not be thankful for it right away. I don't expect you to be like, thank you for rejecting me and telling me that you didn't want me. I'm not meaning that, I'm not meaning to be that candid with it. What I'm saying is, after you cry, after you process, I want you to realize that they moved out the way to make a way for you. And so they are just clearing the path. It's better for someone to decide they don't want you and to make that conscious decision to tell you, I can't commit to you. Whether it's I can't commit, period, or with you, regardless of what it is, it doesn't really matter what the reason why. even if it is another woman that he wants to commit to and not you, be thankful for the rejection. Because on the other hand, he could not reject you, string you along, play with your feelings, play with your emotions, have that other woman he really wants on the side, and you could be in a shit show of a relationship because he's afraid to tell the truth and you're afraid to receive the truth. So receiving the truth of the matter is what you want, because that prepares you to let go, move forward to what's next for you. It doesn't have to be a new man. It can be you being next for you. It can be the relationship with yourself improving. You looking back over and figuring out, why did this hurt me so bad? I want you to process that. I don't want you to just chalk it up to, he didn't want me, I'm so sad. I get that, but I want you to process it, because there may be a little underlying self-esteem issues going on there, self-worth issues. It could be your beliefs about finding the one. You may feel like you're never going to find the one. You're never going to have love, that it's hard to find. So that's why you have to settle. I want you to challenge yourself on all those things and process it and figure out, why did it get to you so? Because in me doing that, after those guys rejected me all those times and processing it, in the end, after I was disappointed, maybe shed a tear or two over some of them, after I came to terms with it, and especially later on, I realized that I was acting desperately for a relationship. Excuse me, I'm just be straight up. I was. And rather that provoked them to not want a commitment and to run, because especially the last guy that's married now, that I talked about, that I talked to right before my husband, especially with him, I feel like I was a little too desperate for a relationship and trying to kind of like slick force it a bit. I was. And so I can understand why someone would run from that. And it's a difference between declaring that, I want a commitment, and not declaring it, but trying to kind of like force it on someone, And I feel like I had a little bit of that going on, I ain't gonna lie. So anytime you try to kind of like force someone or coerce someone into it, that's going to make them run, because nobody wants to feel like they're not having a choice anymore in the situation and that they're being forced into something. And that's just with anything. Like, not even romantic relationships, but think about anything. Do you like to feel forced to do something? You don't. And so when you have that sense of urgency of really trying to have a connection and force something, it's gonna have that effect on some men. It just is. And even you, if someone tried to force you, I'm sure you would feel like that. So what I learned is that I instead need to just accept rejection and go with the flow. And what I mean by go with the flow, I don't mean, don't determine you want a relationship. Let me explain. I mean, go with the flow as far as, don't try to move faster than what they're moving. See how they operate, how they move, and get a feel for what they want. Or if they declare it flat out what they want, and if you declare it, okay, that's fine. But move either with them or away from them. When I say move with them, I mean, don't try to jump ahead and tell yourself that y'all are going to be in a relationship because you like him so much and you just started to get to know him and you like him so much already. No. You like what you know about him so far is what you have to tell yourself. Like, I like what I see so far. Like, maybe it could be that he's attractive. You like the phone conversation. I like those things so far. But I need to still get to know him. Have that aspect of it. That's what I mean by going with the flow. Don't try to rush ahead. And if a relationship slowly starts to come for that, or you realize that that's what you want, then start to kind of move into that. Or either pose the question like, hey, we've been talking for about a month or so. I like being around you. I would really like to move into something more serious. Is that something you're interested in? If not, then I will have to move on. And you have to have that wit about you, girlfriend. Like, it feels good. Like, after a while, I started kind of slowly understanding that that's how that works. And that you have to maintain your power in this. You can't just give it away or give your power away to your urgency to be in a relationship. So what I started doing was taking my time with these guys and getting to know them, and actually not giving so much of myself so soon thinking that that's going to make them want a relationship with me, because look at me, I'm this and that, I'm so special, I'm giving you all of me. No, that's not how that works. That's not what makes a man want to commit to you or love you or be with you or whatever it is. It's has to be something in him that he just has for you. And I think that's where it comes into play, to where we feel disappointed, unworthy, unloved, and all of that, because he's like, he didn't have that feeling for me in him to want to commit. And sometimes they may want to but just can't, and so in the back of your mind you're thinking it's because, oh, I'm unworthy, he just don't have it for me. It could be a number of things, but you have to understand and you have to accept that that is a blessing in disguise, girlfriends. I promise you. Let that man not want you. Let that man move on. Let that man not want to commit to you, instead of half-ass committing to you or half-ass giving you what you want. And stop thinking that, oh, maybe he was going to change. I was hoping he would change for me. What if he changes for her and this and that? It's not so much that he's changing for the next person. It's just maybe something in that person, it provokes that feeling in him. And it could be something as simple. It could be something. It could just be anything. It can be anything. And you may be wondering, like, what does she have that I don't have? And it's not that she has something more or less or whatever than you. It's just that that's who brings that feeling out of him, that he wants more. Or maybe not only that, he could have grown. Losing you sometimes is what someone, losing that person or losing you is sometimes what a man needs in order to process and grow and change as well. Everyone has a right to grow and change. Everyone has a right to change their mind and to develop and to mature. Even that man that didn't want to commit to you, that you really wanted to commit to you. Everyone has a right to, to that. Even you. And so once you realize that you're focused on your growing, you're focused on your development, you're focused on going your way, and you're realizing that you have a whole life ahead of you and a whole lot of other people you can see or not see. You have a whole life just for you that you can fulfill with just you. Once you realize all of that and you move forward, that won't sting or hurt so much. I'm not saying you're going to totally forget about it and you won't think about it, but you'll find that it doesn't hurt you so much. I put it that way. Because I still remember all those guys and how they made me feel. But I also remember who I was during those times and how urgent I was to be in a relationship. And not saying that could have possibly pushed them away, but it was causing me to not make the best decisions in these partners. And once I started to develop and grow, it didn't bother me so much that they didn't want to commit to me. I've actually was happy that they did, because I'm like, that would have been another toxic relationship back to back to back to back to back, because I'm just unconsciously making these decisions in men. So I thanked them for it. Thank you for rejecting me, because it made way for, you know, better, I would say. Better for me. Not saying better than them, but something better for me. And something could be just a better life for me, developing myself, growing. And, the better man just happened to come through all of that. I was rejected so much, but each rejection, all it did was put me in alignment with who is for me. Like, you got to understand that when you're out here dating and moving, you're not going to just fall for the first guy you meet. I know that would be so easy for you, that you don't have to go through all that shit and just bam, met someone, bam, we're together, and yep, no rejection. But it's all in how you look at rejection, girlfriends. It's all in how you view it. You can't hold it to your worth or hold it near and dear, like right beside your worth, because it's not the same thing. Someone rejecting you does not mean you're unworthy. It is incompatibility. Say it with me. Someone not choosing to commit to me is not due to my worth. It's due to incompatibility. And you can even furthermore say, I don't want anyone that doesn't want me. Or even furthermore say, I would rather someone reject me than to string me along in an unfulfilling relationship that's not really for me, And I know it's scary, because you may not know what's for you. You may not see into the future and see what's coming up next and what's going to be for you. And if you have that belief system about, oh, it's so hard to find a man, I'm never going to find a man, I'm going to be alone forever and all of that, I need you to get excited and happy about your life, girlfriend. you know? Not saying to forget about men totally, but I'm saying that while you wait for a match for you to happen and come along, improve your life, you know? Really, really get to know you and improve your life. Do all the things you've been wanting to do. Just get yourself ready, because you're going to need a life when you do get into a relationship, so you won't fall into the role of just girlfriend and wife and mother if you become a mother. I've said this before in the podcast, I feel like, but I'm saying you have got to develop a sense of yourself. And so use these stepping stones or these rejections from these men that didn't want to commit to you but was gladly able to accept another woman and commit to her. You know, don't let it affect your worth like that. I'm telling you, it's not what it seems. Yes, cry about it, but I want you to process it and realize that and accept that it just wasn't it. And you have to really get in your mind that I don't want something that was not for me. I don't want anyone that was not for me. No matter how bad I may feel like I want it at the moment, I really don't want what's not for me, because it's not going to do me any good. It's going to only do me worse. And the only way that you think it will do you any good is you probably romanticizing the relationship. It's also you possibly, having this sense of urgency to be in a relationship. It may be you putting this person on a pedestal. It may also be you looking at them and idealizing them, and maybe thinking about the way you would love for them to be or change into, or you're hoping they would change. And so you want a relationship with that person that you've created, and you got to come back to reality, understand that that's just not going to happen. You're not going to get a relationship with the person that you have mapped out in your head and the person that you created them to be. So you have to deal with the reality of them and accept that if they didn't commit and you were thinking, this could have really been something, could it? Or is it something that you just made up in your head that it could be? So deal with that reality too. I think sometimes we get so caught up with these men and wanting love and a relationship that we can't see clearly how we're seeing them. We could be seeing an idealized version of them, or how we would think they would be, or hope they would be, or how they can change to be, or maybe how they were in the beginning, or maybe, it's someone that's a situationship and we're just talking to them and dating them, and we like, oh, we're so good together though, and you're just really thinking that it can be something, he's going to change his mind because he sees how much fun you're having together. No, you are not going to get that relationship that you're envisioning. You have to come back down to earth, get off cloud nine, and realize that this is what it is, and this is probably all it's going to be. You can't stick around and hope for change. That's giving your power away. And not only that, it's also setting you up for hurt. It just is. So, yeah. The rejection may be hard, and it may be hard seeing someone commit to someone else and not you. But understand, we all deserve to commit to who we want and who we feel is best for us, even you. And so they may have felt like someone else was better for them to commit to than you, but it doesn't mean that you are unlovable or not able to be committed to. I know you may have liked this guy so much, and that's why it hurts that someone you like doesn't like you back in that same way. That's the hurting part, I know. But once you deal with this logically and tell yourself that, you know what, I don't want anyone that doesn't want me. I don't want to move forward with anyone that is unsure of me, because I deserve someone to be fully sure and fully ready to commit to me. And they just didn't have it, and it's okay. It just wasn't for you. But there is someone else. And yeah, that's all I got to say on this. So I hope they kind of help put your mind at ease, or maybe give you some things to think about, girlfriends, about seeing a man that you really like commit to someone else, but they couldn't commit to you, and having to deal with that. I know it's hard. I've dealt with it before. I've seen it happen. And you feel like you're the one that's not chosen. And one other quick thing I want to say, when you feel like you may be the placeholder or whatnot, And maybe you are. But the reason you could be is because of what you are portraying that you are willing to settle for. You know, if you don't have any, if you don't have that, what is it the word I'm looking for? If you don't have, I guess, that like wit about you, about, I'm not settling for just anything, I want to get to know you. I'm not trying to rush this. I actually want to get to know you too, and you're conscious of that, instead of just kind of like being an almost anything kind of goes type of girl, or you're just kind of too accepting to some things, or you're not really setting any boundaries, you're not really assertive about what you want, you're just kind of like, liking the flirting he's doing with you, because they'll do that, and you're just kind of like liking all of that and sucking all that up. it's gonna give it's gonna give placeholder energy, because it's like, oh, she just here, and she don't care what I can do or not do. She's willing to just kind of like, whatever I give her, she's gonna take it. So let me kind of just fool around with her until I decide to commit to this other person I got. So it's giving placeholder energy when you don't have your boundaries about you, or you don't have that I'm not putting up with shit attitude about you. You more so have the attitude of, I just really want a relationship. That gives placeholder energy, and you don't want to do that. And I actually may change this podcast title to get rid of placeholder energy. I like that better. So if you're watching and you or listening and you see that the title is different, that's why. Because I'm like, you know what? I like that. You don't get giving off that placeholder energy. Or should I do a whole podcast on that? No, this kind of goes all together. I keep it like this. So yeah, I may change the title a bit around, play with it, because I wrote this before I realized what I was going to call it. But yeah, when he doesn't commit to you but commits to the next woman, you're a placeholder. And you could be giving off placeholder energy. So if you want me to kind of dive more into that, I can maybe on a bonus episode on my Patreon. If I think of some more details about placeholder energy, I will put it there, because I think I want to actually dive a little more into that. Now that it's coming to me, I'm like, wait, I like where this is going. But yeah, that's all I got for this podcast episode, girlfriends. So check me out on patreon.com/ I've been that girl. If you want one-on-one mindset and intuitive coaching, go to I'veBeenThatGirl.net, and you'll see all my coaching options there. Or just check me out on Instagram. The link is in bio there. Or on Facebook too. I've been that girl. So that's all I got for this podcast episode, girlfriends. Until the next one, peace out.